Chapter 1. Understanding Swift's Impact. This chapter covers why Swift is important for iOS developers, how Swift is a safe and easy-to-use language, and benefits of Swift's functional features. Why Swift? Shortly after people started to look into the language syntax of Swift, there was a flurry of comments that certain things looked similar to their favorite languages. It didn't seem to matter if someone's favorite language was a dynamic or strongly typed object-oriented language like Ruby or C#, a purely functional language like Haskell, or a more systems-level language like Rust. While working on Swift, the team of developers drew inspiration from all of these languages and many more. The languages that are reflected in Swift are battle-tested, and the people maintaining them have decades of combined learning about what makes a programming language great. The team behind Swift used that inspiration to shape Swift. The result was a language that's not only powerful and modern, but also familiar to developers with backgrounds in many other languages. A new level of interactivity. With the introduction of Swift and Xcode 6, also came the introduction of a new level of interactivity when it comes to working with code in Xcode. A new tool called Playgrounds has been added in Xcode 6, which enables you to learn, experiment, test, and generally play with Swift code. When you open Xcode, you'll see the Welcome to Xcode window. It gives you the option to get started with a playground. Note, if this window doesn't come up when you launch Xcode, or if you're already doing something in Xcode, you can open the window by navigating to Window, Welcome to Xcode, or pressing Command-Shift-1. Let's take this opportunity to quickly look at using the Playgrounds tool. You'll learn more about Playgrounds in Chapter 5. You create a playground by either selecting Get Started with a Playground in the Welcome to Xcode window, or navigating to File, New, Playground from anywhere in Xcode 6. After creating a new playground, enter a name in the Name field in the dialog that comes up. Click Next, and then choose a folder in which to save the playground file. Tip: it's extremely handy to keep a playground file in your dock or open while you're working so that you can quickly paste in code and test ideas instead of repeatedly creating new playgrounds. Once you've selected a place to save your playground file, you're presented with a new playground window. It has some Swift code already in it that creates a variable holding the string Hello Playground, the Hello World example for the Playgrounds tool. At the top of the code editor in your playground is a comment followed by some executable Swift code. On line 3 is an import statement that imports UIKit, the framework used in iOS for building user interfaces. This gives you a way to test custom view ideas and test UI ideas in isolation. On line 5, you can see a variable called str being defined to contain the string Hello Playground. To give you a taste of working with a playground, you're going to create a basic label using the UILabel class, which in iOS applications is the primary way of displaying text on the screen. Using the code editor in the playground, edit the code to match listing 1.1. You may notice that the gray sidebar on the right side of the playground updates as you write the code. It tells you the result of each line. This feature of Playgrounds is useful for us as developers because it allows us to see what our code is doing as it runs from top to bottom. The sidebar has some hidden buttons that let you get more information than you can see in the timeline. Hover over the last line in the sidebar, and two buttons appear. The Quick Look icon displays the result of a line of code in a tooltip-style overlay. This is an extremely helpful tool. If you want to keep the result visible so that you can see it update live as you change the code, you can instead use the Value History button. When clicked, Value History opens a new pane in the Playground window. This pane displays the result of the value you added, which reloads live as you modify the code. Try it by changing the font size to a few different values. Congratulations! You just wrote your first Swift code. You even used something that is a core part of almost every iOS application, a UI label. With that quick preview, you now have a basic understanding of a tool you can use to give you a tighter feedback loop when working on your applications. Throughout this book, many of the smaller examples will use playgrounds as the place to run and experiment further. As an iOS developer, you'll find that playgrounds are core tools that you'll use to get your work done more quickly.